There was this moment we were walking along the street near his high school and he was walking next to me and he could see some high school friends
No.
or people from school walking towards us and he muttered under his breath, "Step back, walk behind me."
Oh, God.
And I just thought, this is it. This is the moment. It was so defined. It wasn't even gradual.
Look, we're not here to sell you transformation. We're here to share some truths. Because this stage of life can sneak up on you in the best possible way.
There's a new quiet swagger that comes with it. One you earn simply by being you. We'll walk with you. You don't have to be anywhere else. Turns out it's good here. And sometimes it's even great.
There's all this advice out there about change management, but what nobody talks about is identity management. And that's the thing that can actually impact you the most, right?
Yeah, because some life changes don't just change your schedule. They change who you think you are or who you think you were. And there's not really a project plan for that, right?
No, unfortunately.
So today we're asking about what maybe has changed in your life, and we're going to share some things that's changed in ours. And we're really asking, though, who are you or who could you be when life edits the script?
So I think we should start actually, Ellie, with the harder part of identity shift, because we're going through all the time in our life, whether we like it or not. And we're not going to leave you on a low, don't worry, but it's kind of an interesting opener. There's this term out there on ambiguous loss, which is basically coined from an author, Pauline Boss. And she talks about it where essentially it's this sort of technical term for grief without a death or like a completion of something in your life. But it's something we go through, like we have loss, right? In these shifts of identity.
Yeah. And when you're, as we are, like from 50,
Yeah.
I think there's more possibility of those. It can happen at any age, of course, but from 50, there might be loss of a partner or you retire, or when you're younger, there could be job loss or unexpected loss as well.
God, could like
yeah.
list them forever. You like have empty nests.
Yes.
You might have like unfortunate times in your life when you have a loss of a child. There's so many things.
Or a divorce,
Yep.
unexpected illness,
Yeah.
motherhood,
Health.
or parenthood, even though that's something you want.
Yeah.
My gosh, that is an identity change. And that's a tricky one because in most cases, it's something you yearn for. And then it's actually really hard at first to find. Like I wish I'd said, just to digress on motherhood, in that first year, and I had a really easy baby. I just didn't know that because I think even an easy baby is hard. So imagine if I had a hard baby. Mate, peace to all the mothers out there that have babies that are more challenging, that really don't sleep or, are unwell. But I wish someone had said to me, I know you don't feel like Ellie anymore. And I know you think you will never be Ellie again, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
But you will. She'll come back. She'll come back. She'll have a child as well, but she will come back. And just know it takes time, but that's okay. I wish someone had said that to me. I got all the tips about sleeping and things. So I think that's kind of like a bit of a through line for all changes. Like if you just wish you knew that it's not all situations, but it's a moment in time.
Yeah.
And you do become someone incredible because of that moment in time as well. So we don't want to leave you on the heavy stuff, but
and it's okay to mourn it. And that's another thing too. So we are going to share some stories coming up. Just a couple of things that when we were thinking about this podcast episode, we're like, how can we personally talk about like a really big identity shift in our lives? And this ambiguous loss definitely hit me really, really, really hard. And like you talked about with Blake and, you lost Ellie at that time. I wish somebody came to me and said, Heather, you know what? It's okay to feel like absolute shit right now because your whole identity was pulled out from behind you.
Yeah. And I think this thing that Pauline Boss coined, ambiguous loss, the reason we decided that was really worth mentioning is there's a lot of changes in life that you can't necessarily name. There's the obvious loss where a loved one dies, and there's a grief that people understand. There's the grief that people expect, and there's a ritual around that. You do things to mourn that person and you honor them. But ambiguous loss can be things where you don't quite know what to do. You don't even necessarily know how to name it, but it's a grief and a loss nonetheless. And I think a lot of the time we just hold that in too much, and where we just think, oh, it's not really that bad, or I can't talk about it because it's not actual grief. This person here has real grief, and losing jobs or losing friends, or there's just so many things that are so hard to name and hit you so hard that I think is worth thinking about and calling it something and allowing yourself to create a ritual or a time that you nurture yourself through it. But also to know that it's not always a crisis. It's just a chapter. I think that's really important. We'll touch on that in a minute. But
yeah. No, well said, actually. And I think we should talk about the chapter thing, because there's, off the flip end of that, like so much is out there about, oh, when you are, 50 plus, you become an invisible woman. And like, there's a lot of negative stuff floating around out there. But I know something we really like that's been trending is this sort of term, your third chapter, or your third act in life. And it is actually incredibly empowering and positive, right? What are some things I think that when you hear the third chapter come up for you?
Well, first off, I want to call it the chapter. Because I feel like calling it the third chapter or third act maybe starts to make it sound like it's at the end. And actually what we're finding by the people around us, like you've heard us talk about the Coffee Crew, for example, that are the inspiration for this podcast, like the inspiration for why community matters, why cross-generational friendships matter. And what we've learned from these people is doesn't matter if you're 50 or 20 or 80 or 70, which we have friends in all these ages, that there's things that you feel the same. So I think the third chapter concept is beautiful, but I want to call it the chapter. And
I'm game for that.
And what comes to mind is you hear, obviously Gay's going to be in our Word from the Wise segment.
Yeah.
And she's going to talk about just how empowering this chapter is for her off the back of real loss and real identity shift. But what is so positive for her and how it's so much about her right now. And I love that. She feels free, and I'll let her tell you that. But I think for me, the chapter from 50 is just you genuinely have started to grow into yourself. I don't think you ever fully do, but I think that's exciting. You're clearer on who you want to spend your time with, what you want to spend your time on. You're still hard on yourself, of course, because you're human, but not as hard. You accept that it's okay not to be perfect. And I don't know, there's a real desire to not be unapologetically you, because sometimes when I hear that, it feels like you have the right to be rude. I don't necessarily, I know that's not the sentiment, but to just actually go, you know what? Like for me, I say to my team, because I'm pretty much the oldest one in my events team, that yes, I am cheesy and I do like cliched things and I am the mama of the group. And you know what? That I am unapologetically those things. You can be envious of their youth. I feel the same as them and I love being part of the team, but being different and bringing a different point of view. And I think it's amazing that you get to do that.
And for me, you're listening to this podcast right now. Ellie and I have tried for 15 years to come up with something that we can do together. And for me, my energy shift as I turn 50 is, I don't know, something really full on has happened for me personally. I'm like, right, let's just do this. I feel this incredible passion for where I'm headed and the enthusiasm. So,
and I think you don't want to wait anymore, right? You're like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
And let's share what we're feeling. We've come across something beautiful that has inspired us to share.
Yeah.
And whoever wants to be part of that, come.
Be
part of
your chapter.
So you're part of our community. We're hopefully part of yours. This third chapter thing came from something you saw that's going around that's popular with Kate Winslet. Just remind me what that was.
Yeah, because actually there's a lot of stuff in pop culture right now around this reinvention phase, right? 50 plus reinvention. It's like a magical time. We'll actually share the posts on our socials as well. But she's going around talking about this, I think a set designer in her movie. She's like, you're so talented. Why haven't you gone off on your own? And it's because this woman has spent her whole life raising a family and never, needed a job and needed to put food on the table. But for her, it's like this moment of reinvention. And it's a really cool post. So we'll share that. And movies like the Bridget Jones, right? Mad About the Boy.
We talked about grief and loss
Totally.
And getting older and but we've just realized, and we've grown up with Bridget Jones, so we're age, which I love. And we just went to Devil Wears Prada too. So I think we walked out and we were like, it's like catching up with old friends. Yeah, nostalgic. But what is really cool about the latest Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, is she definitely in all the sequels and all the movies, she was really trying to get to this one point where she found her man, which happens to be Colin Firth, the actor, that everything was leading up to, I just want my man and I don't want to be alone and I don't want to be the friend in the group that's home on special occasions like my birthday. And it was all leading up to that. And then in Mad About the Boy, all of that gets taken away. So that, even though we love her and she's fun and funny, I kind of loved that I didn't like that they killed him. I'm not going to say that at all, but I loved that they showed you the one thing she wanted the most. She had to work out how to not live with it.
Yeah.
And she was still unapologetically Bridget Jones. She was still fun. She was kooky like I am, cheesy. But she had to figure it out with a new lens, but still being her. And she did start dating and she did figure out life and motherhood. She had no choice. But we also loved that movies are changing and these women, these older women, us, the protagonists.
There's like women on magazine covers right now that are in their 50s plus. There's a shift, whether or not we're just seeing it because that's our age bracket now, but it's there. It feels more positive and more exciting. You know what I think we should do, because we're going to introduce some really cool people coming up, like experts and cool kids and all that. But I think it's really powerful to hear how we have gone through a moment in our lives too, personally, with an identity shift. For me, Ellie is a professional one. So you guys have heard, I'm from the States originally, and I came out to Australia, and then I was in the events industry, and I was running events for a guy for years and years. We had an entrepreneurial sort of club, travel group. And overnight, he sadly went through a mental breakdown. And I went from literally, you guys, overnight having a paycheck to going to countries like Mongolia and China and Europe and always on the road, treated like a rock star in hotels through him and so many others in my job of running these events, to overnight, I had to figure out a way to put food on the table. I wasn't traveling and I didn't know who the hell I was, because my entire identity was like, I'm Heather Porter and I run these cool events. So for 1 year, I was literally so lost. You can imagine, right? I'm with these amazing people. Boom, that's out from under me.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to this ambiguous loss, because some people will be like, well, you had this rock star life. Like, be grateful you had it.
Yeah.
And almost,
they didn't get it.
They didn't get it because you just dropped from everything you knew. You're not earning money the way you knew how to. Really scary. You still need to live.
Yeah.
But it was what you set up your life to be.
To this point, I had to go to therapy to get through it and work through patterns and spiritual side of myself as well. I don't know if you guys didn't do this too, but you have the moment when you're like, I'm carrying patterns or karmatic patterns, whatever. For me, it was, I'm always this girl working with rock star men. And then that, my whole identity, not only job, but my whole identity, I was questioning everything. And I felt so bad for a year of my life and I couldn't explain it to anyone.
You know what's cute? You just said something I've never heard you say, actually. You said your identity was, I work with or for rock star men, but you're the rock star now.
I love that. Yeah. I've worked very hard to realize that identity, by the way.
I love that I just learned that. You're the rock star. You run your own business. You lead your business. Yeah. You are the heart of your business.
Thank you.
You are the rock star.
Oh, that's sweet. You see now. But you too, I know you've had so many of those moments professionally too.
Yeah.
But you were talking to me earlier about something with your son, Blake.
Well, yeah. And I've had work challenges too, but I thought I'd share a personal one that as a mother, obviously I shared before, in that first year is really hard, but then you get used to it. And it's obviously wonderful to get used to it and you readjust your identity, but still be yourself. But then you get thrown new curveballs. So as they go into the teenage years, you're suddenly an embarrassment. And that the first one, I still remember, and I've told my son this, the moment that happened, and it's normal, and he was still really lovely, and I'm very lucky that he was a great teenager. However, there was this moment we were walking along the street near his high school, and he was walking next to me, and he could see some high school friends or people from school walking towards us, and he muttered under his breath, "Step back, walk behind me."
Oh, God.
And I just thought, this is it. This is the moment. It was so defined. It wasn't even gradual. It so quickly happens. They're babies and they're toddlers and they're little kids and they need you and you're the hero and the star and the sunshine and the moons and everything. Moons, one
moons.
moon. Yeah, you're so
planet, sorry, which universe are you from?
You're so important. You're not just one moon, you're the moons. And suddenly you're not. And I like to all the mothers or people who mother out there that know this, it's wow. And it's an adjustment. You can't avoid the pain of that, but you do need to go ahead and figure out like a new way to be a mother, to be you, because you're just so tied in. I think mother is such a strong identity. I think what I realized, and I'm going through it again now, he's an actual adult too. It's the same but different. You're not their mother anymore, and it's not that you're not needed or loved or cared for anymore. But like every chapter change in life, you've got to adjust what that is and find the new way to feel what you used to feel and accept that it's not the same, but find the new version. In the case of my son, what is it that you can do for them and who can you be for them? And honestly, I feel like the hardest part now, which is so weird, I never thought it would be, is him being a fully fledged adult that he's intelligent, he's got his own job, his own opinion. And that can be hard because you're used to being kind of like the source of all the thoughts and the truth and the ideas. And it's an adjustment. And you've got to find the way to go, well, who can I be differently now? And it's taken me, honestly, I haven't been great at it or perfect, of course, but it's just recognizing that you can just adjust how you are and look at it as a different chapter and find your path where you do have this lovely connection still and you just need each other differently. And I think acceptance is the best word I can think of. You've got to accept it, and then there's room to figure out how you do it differently so you can go back to that place where you still get to be mum.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
You find your chapter.
Yeah, the chapter.
It's the chapter.
It's not the third, it's not the first, it's not this, the chapter.
Let's get some others to weigh in. What do you think?
Look, I think we've said enough. I want to hear what other cool kids and experts and gay knows. I really love that we hear from a whole range of people.
Yeah, let's do this. Here we go. This is where we share voices worth listening to on today's topic. Good to know. Up next.
Hey, my name is Joe Parnett. I'm an expert in emotional fitness. Emotional fitness is about transforming our relationship with uncertainty. Emotional fitness is made up of 5 key focus points, of which one of those happens to be identity. Identity is the single most powerful force in the human condition that influences all of our decisions, our choice points, our actions, and it's a significant lens that we see the world through. And another way of looking at identity is it's what we allow ourselves to be defined by. So what defines us owns our entire psychological landscape. To give you an example, if I'm defined by the results I'm getting in my business, I'm going to profoundly be affected personally by the wins and the losses of those results. I'm going to grow a hypersensitivity to how those results are going. I'm going to be measuring my self-esteem, my self-trust, my self-respect, all those things against those results, because that's the power that identity has. Now, inevitably in life, at some point, we go through identity shifts. These happen organically, they happen naturally. And when they happen, they create incredible confusion. I know for me personally, in my 30s, when I went through my first identity shift, where I was moving away from ambition-driven sort of identities more toward the meaning-driven identities, I know that my priorities changed. But this doesn't just happen in a practical way. It happens in an emotional way. So suddenly, when I say suddenly, over a period of days or weeks or months, or sometimes this can take years, we begin to realize that the things that used to light us up, what used to take our interest, what used to be exciting for us, no longer has that effect on us anymore. And this is what creates the confusion. For me personally, I thought I was falling into some kind of depression because I was engaged with life. I was lit up by so many things in life that suddenly just didn't have that effect on me anymore. And that's because of this identity shift. And when these identity shifts happen, our priorities change. We go through a values evolution. What matters to us gets redefined. It can affect our relationships. If that identity starts to create a values gap between us and the people that we are in a relationship with, that can change as well. The gap can increase. The identity shift can draw us to different people that previously we weren't drawn to before. All kinds of things change. And so identity is by far sits at the throne of our psychological patterns. There's no doubt about that. And so if this is something that you're experiencing yourself, I want you to know about this conversation, because if I knew that what I was going through was normal, and this is something that all human beings go through, I would have felt so much better. I wouldn't have second-guessed myself so much. So acknowledge this. If you're going through this, acknowledge this. And then what I want you to do is to dial up the curiosity about what new interests can be, what new avenues can you try. Sometimes people take career shifts, interest shifts, hobby shifts. Be curious about what else is out there that can expand your comfort zone, because your new identity deserves it.
Next up, we hand things over to someone younger to decode a trend, a slang word, or something we've missed. All right, let's get the cool kids to explain.
Hi, my name is Lily Kingsbury. I am 20 years old and I am a professional ballet dancer. I started dancing when I was 2 years old, and over the last 18 years, I have devoted my life to become a professional ballerina. So recently I made the decision to walk away from the professional ballet career because I started to not feel as fulfilled as I used to. And it was difficult to accept that. It made me ask myself, who am I if I'm not a ballet dancer? And what happens when the thing that defines me no longer feels like the right path? Right now, I am planning on moving to a new city, and I'm going to be attending barber school. It's a huge 180, a big change, but instead of fear and being scared, I feel really excited about this new chapter. I think identity is always evolving. We grow, we change, we discover new passions throughout life, and that is our identity. Our identity is who we are and what we've experienced. And when we allow ourselves to change and grow, that's when I find we get more opportunities. If you're going through a change, whether it's life or identity, just remember what you're moving towards. Be genuine to yourself and allow some grace, because we're not supposed to have everything figured out.
Every episode, we pause for wisdom from someone who's been through it and learned a thing or two. Here's a word from the wise.
I had a National Trust house, which we just renovated. It had a tennis court. We put in a pool. It had a gymnasium. It was one of the oldest houses on the North Shore, most beautiful. It's got a name to it, but I won't say it. I had the latest Range Rover. I was sitting in the Range Rover, and they came and took it away. And then we lost $44 million. We had a lot of money, right? He had built $1 billion business, 2 public listed companies, and about 162 companies underneath it. So that was a major identity crisis. When you lose that, where do you go? What do you do, right? So we had to go and live and rent in another suburb, right? So my husband put me in another suburb. When I got there, I cried because I thought, I can't live in any old people here. And it turned out to be the best place we could ever live for the kids, because it really wasn't full of old people. It was just a perception. But it was very staid and very, very conservative for us. But that was the start of our renting exercise of life, right? And we always had lovely houses, big houses, renting, but we were renters. So we were never, ever really part of the community in a way. But that's where I made my best girlfriends, who are always here today and still with me. There were a lot of people suffering with losing their money. One guy killed himself while his wife was in the supermarket. The other guy hung himself while the family were away. And my husband came home and said, I'll just do that again. And he slept through the whole lot of it. He did not lose 1 ounce of sleep. And I think that gave me some confidence that we'll get through it. It didn't really matter to me because I never had that real desire for the status symbols anyway. I really didn't. I really thought people were more important, always have. People are more important. You've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got your husband, and they're still alive. And I've certainly learnt that later in life. It didn't really affect me too much because I didn't have those values. But the people around me that I went to live now really had those values. I was not aware of them having their values until I started renting. And then the values came out. And then, as I said before, met some of the best people who are loyal to me to this day, who didn't care whether I was a renter, right? Because you're not part of a community when you rent. But anyway, that was my new identity, a renter. And my parents had owned their home since they were about 40. And I owned houses before that with my ex-husbands. So I'd never actually rented before. Actually, never, right? Never. So I think I cope with it very well. The most recent change of identity for about the last 4 years, my husband died and he had cancer. He was really sick and I had to look after him and family. We knew he was dying. So that was a complete new identity. I'd never been on my own before. I'd never lived on my own before. I'd been married since I was 21. So I actually love being alone. I love being a woman alone. And because I've had to develop myself more and I've really come to know who I am more. And I love myself don't love myself out. I really like myself as a good human being. And when you're with a partner or other people, living with other people, you become part of them too. So I think till you've lived on your own, you don't really know yourself, right? So I've had to, that was a new me. And I love it. I'm so happy. I've had a great time. I have a great life. Every day I'm grateful for. I've said that before because of seeing Chris being really, really sick, right, and trying to stay alive. My philosophy was going through that with Chris and later was each day's a new day. I'll just get through this day. Don't concentrate on the next day because it'll take care of it. And I mean, this is stuff people already know really, but you actually do it. And the next day does take care of itself. It's quite incredible. We project into the future about what could happen all these days. And I'm the worst catastrophizer there ever. I could catastrophize anything. So that's what I learned. I really learned that you'll be okay, that you will be okay. There's nothing like you will. And there's plenty of fabulous people in the world. And they don't have to help you. Just talk to somebody. Just say hello.
So if you're in the middle right now between who you were and who you're becoming, we see you. That is not failure, you guys. That is the chapter.
Yep. And if this episode hit, send it to the friend you know feels like she's in her messy middle, but maybe she's in her messy best.
I love that. Next week, why chasing happiness is not always the best idea. We've got a 50+ lens to unpack on this topic. So, turns out something good might be closer than you think.
Oh, God, that's it, baby.